Okay, and now it's time to finally start putting some color down. My friends, I do not want you to overthink this. I want you to look at your reference photos, feel some feelings, and just choose some colors and put them down. Do not stress out about this. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Candy Hearts Art. I'm Candy, and I'm so glad that you're here with me today. So when it comes to visual art, lighting is everything. It's like this little magic trick that takes a flat smear of paint and turns it into something three-dimensional. Kind of like when you see a still life of a bowl of fruit sitting on a table and you feel like you could take one of those pieces of fruit and take a bite out of it. Chances are that painting has some really good lighting effects in it. Highlights will pull things forward, while shadows will push things back. And it's that playful dance between light and dark that gives your work depth and form. But lighting doesn't just create dimension, it also creates drama. You know how if you're having a romantic dinner, you'll light some candles, or if it's a beautiful sunny day out, you'll pull back the curtains and let all that gorgeous sunlight flood in? Well, in art, lighting totally sets the mood in the same way as adjusting lighting in your living space will set the mood. And one of my favorite versatile lighting techniques is called the bokeh effect. So you guys, today I'm working on something brand new for my channel. My first tutorial video. Together, we're gonna learn how to create a dreamy bokeh background in acrylics. It's simple, it's fun, and once you learn how to do it, you can use it in so many different ways. So go grab your acrylic paints, your brushes, and of course, your positive vibes, and follow me into the studio where we're gonna create some truly magical and gorgeous bokeh backgrounds. Before we get started, let's delve a little deeper into the fascinating world of bokeh. Bokeh is one of those things you've probably seen hundreds of times without realizing it had a name. It started as a photography concept in Japan and was popularized in the Western world in the late 1990s. The word bokeh itself is actually derived from the Japanese word for blurry or hazy. And that's really the essence of it. Fuzzy, out-of-focus backgrounds where points of light turn into soft halos of illumination. I bet you've seen the bokeh effect in some of your favorite holiday photos, where strings of lights and shiny decorations melt into glowing, dazzling orbs in the background. And you've definitely seen it in your favorite movies or TV shows, where everything behind the main character looks all glittery and magical. But you know, the aesthetic quality of bokeh isn't just about the blurriness, but rather the emotion captured by the blurry effect. Depending on the techniques used, it can feel dreamy and romantic, bright and playful, or even mysterious and dramatic. Bokeh has this really cool way of setting the perfect mood. That's what makes it so appealing. It's not only about what you see, it's about how it makes you feel. While it's true that bokeh rose to fame in photography, artists working in other mediums have since found ways to recreate the same look, using brushwork, color blending, and layering techniques. And now that we all know what bokeh is, and can totally use this information to impress all of our friends at parties, let's go start painting. Okay, my friends, first and foremost, let's talk about the stuff you'll need to paint your very own bokeh background. Of course, you'll need a container of water. I'm using my favorite Ace Hardware plastic container that I don't even know where it came from, but I love it. And of course, we need our brushes. I'm going to be using a 1-inch flat brush for the initial color layer. You'll see what I mean in a moment. And we're going to need a mop brush. Now, mop brushes come in all different varieties. In fact, makeup brushes make really good mop blender brushes. So you'll see here, I have an ELF or ELF, I don't know, I'm not a makeup person, brush, which is very soft and fluffy. And this is gonna help me really blend the colors together on the canvas. I really love this brush, and you can get them pretty inexpensive at discount stores like Marshall's. There's another makeup brush, and then this blue handled one I got in a pack from Amazon. So you're gonna have to play around with your mop brushes and see which ones you like the most, but you want a fluffy brush that's going to blend color. And then here is a palette knife or a mixing knife. I find that helpful for mixing my colors. The next tool I find super helpful in this technique are these round sponge brushes used for stenciling, also known as spouncers, which I think is a super fun name. You can get these relatively cheaply at the dollar store. You can get them on Amazon. I got a pack on Amazon for pretty cheap, a big pack actually. And I like having them in a variety of sizes because it really helps make all different sizes of light circles, which really give you that bokeh effect that we're going for. I'm going to be using this Strathmore palette paper as my palette today. If you're unfamiliar with palette paper, it's almost like a parchment or a waxy paper. It's got a film so that the paint won't absorb into it, and it works just like a palette. You can mix your colors on it. I usually tape it down to the table. It makes cleanup really easy, but you can use any palette that you're comfortable with today. And of course, we need a surface to paint on. Today, I'm going to be using an 8x10 stretched canvas, but you can really use any surface you want as long as it works with acrylic paint. It can be any shape. You just have to be able to paint with acrylics on it. And you know what, guys? We're not going to get very far in our acrylic painting without our acrylic paints. These are the colors that I'm going to be using today. I don't want you to worry too much about the colors that I'm using. I want you to use whatever colors you feel creatively inspired to use today. However, you will need white. If you want to achieve the same look or enjoy the color palette I'm using, here is the list of colors that I'm using today. But again, please use whatever you feel called to use. I'm also going to be using this product called Matte Medium. It's going to help me with some glazing effects, which I will explain later on. You do not need to have this product, but it would help, but you will be able to achieve your bokeh background without it. Another optional but helpful tool is a spray bottle of water. Okay, my friends, we are finally ready to get started on this bokeh painting. As I lay out my paints, I wanted to take a minute to encourage you to look up your own reference photos of bokeh photography, bokeh background paintings, so that you can get an idea of what you would like to achieve in your bokeh painting today. I'm going to show you a general technique, but you don't have to follow me step by step. You can sort of just follow the essence of what I'm doing, but look at your own reference photo and decide how you want this to look in the end. I'm just going to give you the method and the tools that I use, and you're just going to take it and run with it. Once we get started, you're going to see that this technique works with any color palette, any way that you want to arrange it. It's really just a few simple techniques that you can use in different ways to make really gorgeous backgrounds, but no two backgrounds will ever be exactly the same. And really, you don't just have to use this technique as a background. It could just be a sort of abstract painting. It would be very beautiful just framed and put on your wall as is. So now you'll see I'm mixing my colors with a little bit of white, just making little piles of a slightly lighter shade of each color. If you take a look at this bokeh example, there are all these circles of light in different colors, and they vary in intensity. Some are very bright, some are very subdued, some are darker, some are brighter, and that's the look that we're going to try to achieve in our paintings today. The key to a good bokeh painting is blending, and we're going to achieve this today by starting with a moistened canvas. We don't want this sopping wet, so I'm going to just spray it lightly, and then I'm going to take a paper towel and get most of the excess water off. We just want it damp. We do not want it dripping. If you don't have a spray bottle, you can just brush clean water onto your canvas with a brush and then do the same process of mopping off the excess with a paper towel or a rag. You guys, I cannot stress enough that we do not want this canvas to look like we took it down a water slide. So make sure it is damp, but not sopping wet. You have been warned. The next part of this process is the trickiest part, but I think that makes it the most fun. What makes it tricky is that you have to work pretty fast. You don't want that dampened canvas to dry up on you because that's really going to work in your favor to help with the blending. Okay, and now it's time to finally start putting some color down. My friends, I do not want you to overthink this. I want you to look at your reference photos, feel some feelings, and just choose some colors and put them down. Do not stress out about this. Overthinking and perfectionism kills progress, and that's not what we're about today. We just want to fill our surface with color. I'm using several colors. You could even just use one color in different values. Okay, here's the really fun part. We're gonna switch over to our mop brush and we're gonna blend this background. I want you to sort of just kiss the surface of your canvas with this brush. You wanna be sort of whisper light enough to get it to blend together, but not to leave a lot of harsh brush strokes. You guys, just be patient with yourself and be gentle with your canvas, and I promise it will all come together. The more you practice this technique, the better you'll get at it. It's kind of like my hero Bob Ross always said, you probably weren't very good at tying your shoes the first time you tried it, but after a while you got so good at it, you don't even think about it when you do it. It just happens. It's like that with art too. Now that our first layer is all soft and blended, we need it to be completely dry before we go on to the next part. Now, if you need a break, you can go get a drink or a snack and wait for it to dry naturally. Or if you're like me and you're impatient, you can get your hair dryer out and make it dry. But you guys, if you're gonna use your hair dryers, make sure to use the cool setting. If you use the hot setting, it can make the paint peel up and pucker, and it is a bad day, folks. I've done it. You don't want to do it. Just trust me, use the cool setting. Please promise me. And now that we totally have not ruined our paintings with our hairdryer, I'm going to pull out my largest round foam brush, or spouncer. I love saying that, guys. I love that word, spouncer. Okay, sorry. We're going to load up the spouncer with paint. I am using a slightly lighter shade of blue than I used for my background. We definitely want the sponge brush thoroughly covered, but we don't want it so oversaturated with paint that it's like messy. And then we're going to just pick a spot on our canvas and apply the loaded spouncer to the canvas gently. We're not going to push too hard, but we're going to apply firm pressure and just twist slightly. That twisting motion is going to help us get a full circle. Don't worry too much if your circles don't come out perfect. Again, we are not striving for perfection here. If you look at example photos of bokeh photography and bokeh paintings, you will see that some of the circles aren't fully formed, some of them are very blurry, some of them are just mere suggestions. So don't worry too much about this, just go in there and make some circles. Now I'm repeating this process with the same size spouncer and a lighter purple shade than the purple I used in my background. Being sure to overlap some of these circles, because that is definitely prevalent in bokeh photography. The circles overlap, they are all over the place. Okay, so after that layer of circles, I'm going to pull out my dryer and make these circles dry. Sometimes I don't want them to be dry, sometimes I want them to blend together more, but you do want to be drying periodically throughout this process so that they don't get too mushy and you can control the color and the layering process a little bit more. Once again, with practice, you will get the hang of this, and don't you dare use that heat setting. Only the cool setting. Don't burn your paintings, please. Okay, now I'm going in with a slightly lighter version of the magenta color that I used in the background, and you might be noticing a theme at this point. I'm just basically taking the colors that I used in the background and going lighter and lighter as we come into the foreground. So this first layer of circles is just a little bit lighter than the colors in the background, and then they're gonna get lighter as they come towards us. I'm even going back in and adding a few more darker circles just because I want these to overlap and really look like a lot of different colored light is shining through from the background. You also want to play around with adding circles that are more opaque or solid looking and circles that are more transparent or see-through looking. You can achieve that transparent effect by thinning down your paint with water or using acrylic mediums. Both can work equally well, but they each have their strengths and weaknesses. Too much water can sometimes weaken the binders in acrylic paint, and it'll have a hard time sticking to your surface. It'll also sort of wash out the vibrancy of your paint color. Acrylic mediums will kind of preserve the vibrancy of your paint, but it will also add some texture sometimes. It'll be slow drying at times if you build up a lot of layers, and they can be a little costly. I mean, water you can get right out of your tap. I highly recommend playing around with both and seeing what works for you. In fact, now I'm going to use some of this Liquitex Basics matte medium and thin down some of my paint so that I can create a glazing layer. So glazing is basically when you just add thin layers of paint over already dry layers of paint. And the reason I'm doing this now is because I want to create more of a blurry effect. I want to push some of these circles back a bit. I want this to be very layered and to look like there's a lot of dazzling light effects going on in this painting. And so this helps me push back those initial circles a little bit so that I can build some lighter circles on top of them. You can go back and forth with glazing and creating these circles as many times as you want, really, to create a piece with a lot of depth and dimension. And of course, I'm going to make sure that glazing layer is really dry before I go in with a smaller spouncer and a lighter color of blue to start another layer of circles. And basically, I continue to layer these smaller circles over the larger circles using different colors, different opacity. It's basically the same process as the big circles. Now I'm mixing lighter colors and using an even smaller spouncer to layer circles on top of the other layers of circles, creating dazzling points of light in the foreground. This painting is totally giving me bright and bustling city vibes. So I'm starting to concentrate a lot of the brighter circles to one area, giving you the feeling that maybe we're on a busy street and those are car headlights blazing through the night. And as you can see, I keep going lighter and lighter with my colors to make it more luminous and sparkling. Honestly, this part is so fun, it's hard to know when to stop. But there comes a point where you get to that look that you're trying to achieve and you just don't want to push it any further because you might push it over the edge. And with that being said, I think I'm ready to call this painting done. And there you have it, a bright and beautiful acrylic bokeh painting that can set the stage as a stunning background or even hold its own as a vibrant abstract painting. And here are a few other examples of beautiful bokeh paintings using the same technique. You guys, you can really do so much with this method. I hope that you go and use it again and again and fill your houses with gorgeous bokeh paintings. My friends, I had such a wonderful time diving into the magical world of bokeh with you today. I hope you learned something and that you had fun making a beautiful mess together. If you did, please hit that like and subscribe button because it would really help my channel grow. And you know I'll be back with another video for you before you know it. But until then, take care, my friends. Bye!